Welcome to the Millionaire's Pathway, the channel where you discover what truly separates the few who succeed from the many who remain stuck. We don't offer magic formulas here, but the hidden map of the millionaire mind, one that was hidden, censored, and forgotten until now. If you're looking for answers you've never been given, you've come to the right place. Subscribe, activate the bell, and get ready to transform your life. In previous videos, we revealed lost and suppressed fragments of Napoleon Hill's work, teachings that don't appear in his published books and were deliberately forgotten. Today, we'll go deeper. What you're about to see is not just a continuation, it's a revelation. Napoleon Hill knew that the greatest obstacle between you and wealth wasn't the lack of money, but the control of your own mind. In unpublished documents, he claimed that the human mind is like a fertile field. What you plant in it grows. But who controls the seeds? That question was marked in one of his personal notes. Hill believed that throughout life, external forces, schools, governments, religions, and even the media plant ideas in our minds that limit our creative power. According to him, these invisible forces are not random, but intentional. The concept of invisible control was developed by Hill along with mysterious figures he never named. In his notes, he referred to secret meetings with influential men, whom he called silent mentors. These men, according to Hill, had access to information that would never be revealed to the public. In one of his letters, he wrote, "If the public knew what these men know about the power of the mind and intention, the entire system would collapse in a few years. That's why they prefer to keep the masses asleep. That's why this content never appeared in his most famous books." Hill couldn't publish everything, not for lack of will, but for safety. And here we enter dangerous territory, because when you begin to think for yourself, you become a threat to the system. Another point Hill frequently addressed was the power of conscious decision. He said that most people live on autopilot, repeating the same patterns, the same mistakes, the same excuses. But those who master the art of decision, truly deciding with clarity and courage, gain access to an invisible force, unshakable self-confidence. That self-confidence, according to Hill, doesn't come from nowhere. It's built through self-knowledge and the repetition of specific affirmations. But beware, not just any affirmation. He was adamant in saying that many popular self-help phrases are, in fact, harmful. Hill recommended his own method, which he called focused mental conditioning. In this process, the person would daily repeat a personalized set of declarations that included a clear goal, defined time, intense emotion, and vivid visualization. A real example taken from his notes: "I will own a company that earns $1 million before the end of 1932, offering practical solutions for entrepreneurs. I see it, I feel it, and I act as if it were already reality." Specificity was the key. The clearer the intention, the more powerful the action. And this leads us to an even deeper point: controlled imagination. Hill believed that imagination was not a childish tool, but the true engine of creation. Only few knew how to use it. "The man who masters his imagination," he said, "becomes a co-creator of his reality." Have you noticed how children have an unlimited ability to imagine? Well, according to Hill, that ability doesn't disappear with age. It's repressed. Repressed by a system that doesn't want dreamers but conformists. And that's where your awakening begins. Now that you understand what lies behind mind control, blind repetition, and the repression of imagination, you need to make a decision. Continue as you are, or begin to reprogram your mind. And pay attention. In the next segment, you'll discover how Hill used symbols, archetypes, and even forbidden words to access deeper levels of consciousness and accelerate results. Napoleon Hill didn't just study businessmen. He studied mystics, philosophers and scientists who understood something deeper than what was taught in schools. In his personal writings, Hill makes constant references to symbols and archetypes as tools to communicate directly with the subconscious mind. In one note, he wrote, "A word can inform the conscious mind, but a symbol awakens the subconscious." That Phrase is key to understanding one of the greatest hidden powers in Hill's teachings. Imagine this. Every time you repeat a phrase, say a prayer, or visualize a goal, your conscious mind processes the image. But your subconscious, where your habits, emotions, and beliefs live, only truly responds when the image is charged with meaning. And that's where the use of symbols comes in. Hill used geometric shapes, historical archetypes, and even colors to reinforce ideas in the mind. For example, the triangle represented the perfect balance between thought, emotion, and action. The circle represented infinite potential. Red was used to activate energy and decision-making. Blue to induce calm and clarity. These techniques were never published in his mainstream books. They were reserved for private sessions and confidential notes. Why? Because he believed most people weren't ready. Now pay attention to this quote, found in a 1937 manuscript. The words that most transform are not always understood. That's why I hide the greatest truths behind symbols and silence. Let that sink in. But it goes even deeper. Hill experimented with mental reprogramming, using what he called forbidden words, terms that, when pronounced with emotion and focus, triggered immediate changes in perception. He called them triggers of reality. Some of these words were derived from ancient Sanskrit, Latin, and even coded phrases in English. One of the most used was the word vibrancy. In his technique, the person would sit in silence, close their eyes, and repeat, "I vibrate in total harmony with the power that creates wealth. I am vibrancy. I am light. I am unstoppable." This mantra was to be repeated 21 times every morning. According to Hill, this phrase activated the reticular system of the brain, a part that filters information and focuses attention. But this isn't about mysticism. Hill always emphasized that science and spirituality should walk together. He wanted people to understand that changing your reality is not about superstition. It's about changing your internal frequency and therefore your external actions. Hill also mentioned an invisible network of successful individuals. He called it the Invisible Council. In one of his letters, he detailed, "Each night before sleeping, I call on the members of my imaginary council: Lincoln, Edison, Ford, Carnegie. I ask them questions and receive answers. I know they are mental projections, but the answers often surprise me. They come with clarity and force." He wasn't going crazy. He was practicing what we now know as active imagination, a technique validated by psychology. But Hill was ahead of his time. Now reflect. How many ideas have you ignored simply because they seemed crazy? How many internal voices have you silenced because society taught you to fear your own mind? If Hill, the mentor of millionaires, talked to ghosts in his imagination to solve problems, what's stopping you from doing the same? Let go of prejudice. Let go of the fear of judgment. From this moment, you have permission to explore all your mental potential, because that's exactly what the system doesn't want. And in the next part, you'll discover why most people never achieve wealth, not because they don't work, but because they're psychologically programmed to reject money. In his lesser-known manuscripts, Napoleon Hill mentions something that few people dare to even consider: the Circle of Seven. This was not an imaginary group. According to Hill, they were real figures, men with power and influence, capable of altering political decisions, manipulating financial markets, and shaping collective behavior through invisible means. Hill doesn't name them, but he describes them as 7 guardians of the structure. Each represented a pillar of social control: education, media, religion, finance, health, politics, and technology. He believed these areas were designed not to unleash human potential, but to mold it within the limits of the system. In a personal note, he wrote, "The real enemy of success is not ignorance, but programming. The circle knows that a mind trained to obey will never question its prison." Hill was not a conspiracy theorist, he was an observer. He saw patterns, connections, shared interests, and more importantly, he offered ways out. According to him, the way to break that cycle is to create your own circle of power, a small group of people aligned with your vision, who support you, challenge you, and elevate you. He called it the conscious mastermind. Most people have heard of the concept of a mastermind, but few apply it correctly. For Hill, it's not just about gathering with smart people, but about forming a vibrational network. Individuals who share goals, principles, and an unshakable commitment to growth. Hill said a true mastermind has 3 elements: absolute trust between its members, common goals, with clarity and defined deadlines, frequency of contact either in person or mentally. Yes, you read that right, mental contact. Hill claimed that synchronized minds could influence each other at a distance, not like magic, but through energetic resonance. Today, studies on brain coherence and quantum fields are beginning to validate this hypothesis. The ideal mastermind not only accelerates results, it transforms your identity. Because you are not just you. You are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if those people live in complaint, fear, or mediocrity, sooner or later so will you. Want to change your life? Change your circle. Hill even recommended visualizing your ideal mastermind even if it doesn't exist yet. Mentally imagine conversations with them, hear their advice, feel their support. Over time, your external reality will begin to reflect your internal vision. And this brings us to the central point. Reality is malleable. Hill was emphatic. The physical world is the final result, not the origin. Everything begins in the mind. That's why he insisted so much on protecting your thoughts, choosing your words, and controlling your focus. An unfocused man is a victim. A focused one is unstoppable. And in that focus enters another powerful concept: absolute commitment. Hill said that most people fail not because of lack of talent, but because of lack of total decision. It's the classic "I'll try" that sabotages the result before even starting. For him, success and commitment were synonyms. Where there is doubt, there is no power. A recurring phrase in his letters was, "Make your decision so firm that the universe has no choice but to obey." Do you realize how deep that is? Hill wasn't just talking about action, but about energy. Deciding with conviction is like broadcasting a frequency that reorganizes your surroundings. People, opportunities, and resources begin to appear as if something greater were responding to your determination. But this only happens when you eliminate the option of failure, when you burn the bridges, when you decide to move forward no matter what. In the next and final part, we will reveal the forbidden words that, according to Hill, destroy dreams, and the power phrases that build empires. It's not just what you say, it's how you program your mind without realizing it. Napoleon Hill believed that words are not just tools of communication, they are tools of creation. What you say is a reflection of what you believe, and what you believe shapes your destiny. In his private writings, he listed what he called the language of failure. Expressions that sabotage your mind and install a self-destructive program without you even noticing. Here are some of those forbidden words. I can't. It's hard. Maybe one day. If only. I'll try. Hill was categorical. Every time you say these things, even jokingly, you are programming your subconscious to block your success. These words create mental permissions to fail. They reinforce the identity of someone who hesitates, who doubts, who retreats in the face of adversity. According to Hill, the subconscious mind does not distinguish between reality and suggestion. If you say you can't, it believes you. If you say it's hard, it intensifies the difficulty. If you say you'll try, it prepares for defeat. So what's the solution? He created a list of power phrases, verbal anchors that reprogram your identity and align your frequency with success. Here are some. I decide. I act now. It's already mine. Obstacles are part of the path. I always find a way. Say these phrases daily, out loud, in front of a mirror. Repetition with emotion reprograms your beliefs and creates new mental highways. You start to believe and act like someone who wins. Another of Hill's secrets was the use of future projection. He recommended writing your goals in the present tense as if they were already real. For example, I am a millionaire with multiple sources of income. I lead a team of high-performance people. I live with passion, health, and abundance every day. It may seem silly, but your brain accepts what is repeated with intensity and clarity. Over time, it organizes your emotions, decisions, and perceptions to bring that internal vision into the external world. And it doesn't stop there. Hill also warned about the danger of other people's language. Many live in an environment contaminated by fear, criticism, sarcasm, and pessimism. And this acts like a murine virus. Your subconscious absorbs it all. That's why he recommended doing Holocaust mental fasting. Turn off the news. Distance yourself from toxic people. Be extremely selective about what enters your mind. Your mental diet is more important than your physical diet. And now we come to the most powerful point of all. Hill believed that every human being has a divine seed, a spark of infinite potential, but this spark needs three things to ignite: clarity of purpose, relentless action, a refusal to retreat. Purpose gives you direction, action gives you movement, and refusal to retreat gives you core power. It doesn't matter how many times you fall. What matters is that you get up stronger, more strategic, more determined. In his unpublished notes, Hill left this phrase: "He who continues after the storm always finds the sun." This is not motivational talk. It's an ancient truth. Reality bends to the will of the one who refuses to give up. So now, I ask you, what will you do with all this information? You've just accessed knowledge that few people will ever know. You've discovered tools that can change your identity, your future, and your legacy, but only if you act. Let this not be just one more video. Let it be your turning point. If this content made you think, leave a comment saying, "I decide." Subscribe now and share this video with someone who needs to wake up. And get ready, because in the next episode we'll reveal how the ultra-rich think differently. Not just about money, but about life, people, and power. This is the Dark Mindset channel, where hidden knowledge becomes power.